So it's been about 3 months since the PlayStation 5 released, right? I think 3 months, roughly. So I think it's now a good time to take a look back and just talk about my experience with it. I haven't really shared my thoughts on the PS5 really, other than the before you buy, and that was pretty early on. Now it's been 3 months in the living room using it like normal, and I have a lot to say. Also, if you watch our before you buy, I'm showing images and video from the before you buy. We had some unused footage on the cutting room floor, and we're proud of how it came out. Two little disclaimers real quick. The first, just like I did with the Xbox video, I want to acknowledge that I don't really care about console wars. I'm gonna inevitably compare them here and there, but it's not with any sort of agenda or anything like that. For those of you not familiar with my background, I grew up playing a Nintendo console, then I moved to the original PlayStation, then I really enjoyed 360, and now I'm a big-time PC gamer, so I'm all over the place. I don't care. I don't really have a connection with either trophies or achievements because I'm just this wandering soul lost in the middle. So I enjoy different platforms for different things, and like I said with the Xbox video, I think there is a hardware platform out there for everybody, depending on the type of gamer. There's so many gamers out there. You're gonna like one of these things. The other thing I do want to point out with the PlayStation 5, the big thing, the somber thing, not to be like a bummer, but a lot of people still don't have their hands on this thing that otherwise really want to get their hands on this thing. Of course, it's been notoriously scalped. Numbers have been very small, very hard to come by. I think there was a lot of Christmas trees without PlayStation 5s under it this year. You've had to be really crazy and really intense online all day in order to get lucky and get one, and it's a bummer. So I think that kind of has put a damper on the enjoyment factor a little bit. Like, yeah, I'm having fun in my room just playing PS5, but knowing that a lot of people can't get their hands on it, knowing that the player base, so to speak, isn't as big as it could be, is worth pointing out. Of course, that will get better with time, and I do think with this console, it's okay if you're missing out right now, because there's only a handful of experiences. They're good experiences, but there's going to be more later on. But I have really been enjoying PlayStation 5, specifically because out of like the new console stuff, this one really feels like, ooh, new. Like, it's like, whoa, when you turn it on. And it has new sounds, it has a new startup, it has a new interface, all the little things are different, and the bells and whistles. So it really feels like a completely new experience until you really boil into it. You know, when you're down to just playing the games, it's not a big deal. And I think that's what both platforms have tried to do, is try and make the jump from last gen to this gen kind of seamless, not feeling crazy different. But if you compare the two experiences, Xbox and PlayStation, PS5 does feel a little fresher. The fact that the UI does have new little innovations and attempts at new tricks here and there, it makes it kind of feel like, for me, where the PlayStation 5 is like this like weird new thing that games are going to come out for it and they're going to be wild. The Xbox Series X feels like this dependable machine. It's the machine, you know what it is, you know what it does. So I think they're both exciting in a way, but like I look at my PlayStation 5 and, you know, I play a lot of multi-platform games on Xbox or PC. I look at my PlayStation 5 and I'm like, you're sitting there right now, eventually you're going to have some really cool shit to play, like some really cool exclusives. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to playing them on you. Why am I talking to my PlayStation like that? But there's like a common thread with both of these consoles, or I'll just call it the next generation in general. This idea that like they got them out, the consoles are here, despite a pandemic. They're really interesting, they're powerful, they're exciting, they're sexy, cool. Nothing is going to get in the way now. We just have to wait for the games. Like, we know for console players, like, these things are extremely capable. We've seen the benefits already with, you know, older games being put on it with 4K, 60 frame rate modes, backwards compatibility tricks. But we've only gotten a couple of glimpses of the true power with this thing, and I think, like, the future is really exciting. Especially with what I have played on PlayStation 5. I've been enjoying a couple of things. I've been dabbling. Obviously, if you saw my Game of the Year video, you know I love Miles Morales very, very much. I've also been playing the new PS5 like remastered, updated version of Spider-Man PS4. Sackboy's big sack. What is it called? Sackboy's. What is it called? Sackboy's Big Adventure. I didn't really play it. My wife played most of it. And don't sleep on the music levels in that game. They're doing some wild shit in what I thought was kind of an otherwise a little repetitive platformer. I played through the Call of Duty Cold War campaign. I played the Pathless, which is really great. Don't miss it. It's on other things, but very cool experience. Oh, I also played Godfall. I also made a whole video about Astro's Playroom and why I think that experience is a must play immediately. And also I played played Destruction All-Stars. That's out now. I've been jumping into that here and there. I wish it was a little deeper. I wish there was a little bit more to it. It's light, fun. I love the concept. I love the idea. Like this style of game is made for me. I just wish I had a little more, so I'm going to keep my eye on it for the next couple of months if it gets updated. But really, it's things that I'm looking forward to down the line that get me more excited about this console. I did go with the disc version just because of my job. I have to have all of my options available, but also I think it's a pretty damn good HD Blu-ray player or 4K UHD Blu-ray player. I had a couple of issues with the Xbox Blu-ray player. The PS5 has been rock solid so far. But with the PlayStation 5, a couple of things get in the way. I have a couple negatives, and really what it boils down to is the interface itself. Now, I haven't been really a fan of modern console interfaces for years now, whatever console it really is. Actually, I think Nintendo Switch is the best, maybe because it's just so simple. I like simplicity. The PlayStation 5 takes steps towards simplicity that I really like, especially with the fact that like the game apps and the media apps are separated by tabs. I really like that. But what I don't like, and you can adjust you can tweak some things in the setting, but overall, when it boils down to it, when you turn on the PlayStation 5, the main splash screen is a fucking ad. I'm sorry for the language, it's a little frustrating, but like the way it lands, it just shows you a big splash screen for a Fortnite update or whatever game. And yes, I know technically this isn't like a new thing. I know Xbox has ads on their front screen, but just the way this one shows up full screen just irks me. It is apparently tailored, like there's like an algorithm and stuff like that, but I've turned off a lot of those settings, and it's just kind of like whatever. I don't want to look at any of that. I want to fire it up and just see my block of games, my background that I chose. That's it, you know? It's hardware. It's like I want to fire it up and use it for what it is. I don't need it to be advertised to me because I will happily look at all of that advertising when I go and specifically click on the store. Then show me what you got, baby. I don't care. We got to make money. I get it. That Explore thing, like it just looks and feels like a kind of like a start screen or a splash screen for like a cheap smart TV. You know what I mean? I also very much would like to see more customization, more organization tools. I expect those to come down the line. I will be patiently waiting for them. Otherwise, the interface is fairly clean and simple. But the other thing I'm not the biggest fan of is the card system and basically the way the PlayStation button works. They changed the way it works in terms of holding it down to power off devices or the console itself, which that is muscle memory that is very hard to get over 3 months later. I'm not gonna lie. But along with that, the card system pops up and I find myself not using it at all, and I find it to be needless clutter. Now, that is my personal preference. I do think this card system does have potential. I think some people might like it now as it stands, but I think they can do a lot more with it. They've talked about what they are working on doing with it in terms of hints, guides, stuff like that, and I've been able to see it here and there in bits and pieces with certain games. But me, my type of player, my type of preference, again, I am not like a hardcore completionist. I know there are many people out there that love that stuff. So for me, I just look at this as like, get this out of here, man. But at the same time, I can recognize that there is potential there. It is a cool new thing that the console is trying, so I will give them props for that instead of just doing the same old shit. They're throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks, but I hope it improves over time and becomes more useful to me personally. But then, of course, there's the controller. Oh my god, the controller, dude. We've talked about this quite a bit. I'm sure a lot of people, you've heard a lot of people talk about the DualSense controller, and it's pretty good. I really like it. It's a little big. It's a little chunkier than I would like compared to other controllers. But I think it's a natural evolution of the PlayStation style design, and I like the haptics. I like the vibration the most. I like the added feedback in the controller. The triggers are interesting. Now, these triggers offer resistance. They will change the way they are to be pressed depending on the game, if the developers even opt to take advantage of that feature, of course. And at first, when the console came out and I was playing games, I was like, wow, this is so cool. It feels like the future. But over time, I don't know. I'm so torn on it because like there is actual fatigue. I know that sounds so stupid. I play games all day, every day. You probably do too. But there is a little bit of fatigue to games that give you resistance, just things you have to push much harder. It's a little weird. Most games you can disable this stuff. I leave the default on just to see what the experience is like. And it feels weird for certain games. So like playing the pathless after a while when you're constantly using right trigger to shoot arrow, I was like, wow, okay, like this resistance is kind of weird. And sometimes it just feels a little weird for certain games. Does that make sense? I think it might be the best for racing games, full stop, 100%. And ADS with the left trigger in certain games is kind of cool, but I just wonder how this will be adapted and how this will work long term, how the controller will last using these things. Because could we talk about the built-in microphone for a second? Oh my Jesus Christ. So Destruction All-Stars has it like default on. So people have this free-to-play multiplayer game they got on their new PS5, and they're playing the game, and every time I jump in a match, I hear everything. Like, I have heard kids get yelled at by their mom. I've heard dudes yell at their wives. Like, it's just awful. The mic's there. Turn it off. Also, not only that, but the fact that the mic is on here and this controller really puts the work in terms of vibration and these triggers. The mic picks up that rattling, and I've heard kids screaming at their TV while their controller is constantly rattling. And it's just funny more than anything. It's things that'll get figured out. Its capabilities of the controller, I just kind of find it funny. Overall, I do still think it's like a sexy controller, and I like that they tried innovating. They tried doing new things with it. But all of the features on the DualSense, which we broke down more comprehensively in other videos, like all that stuff has to be fully taken advantage of on the developer side. So third-party developers have to really choose to take advantage of this stuff. So long-term, I'm curious to see where that goes for multi-platform style games. Obviously, you know, first-party games are probably going to be really cool with the controller. But if you can't tell, I'm having fun. I'm definitely enjoying the PlayStation 5. Got a couple criticisms, but as like a daily-ish machine, I've really been having fun with it. It does what I want it to do. I had some crashing and some sleeping issues in the very beginning, but that all seems to have been completely fixed and worked out. Playing some backwards compatible games has been fine. That's really it. Now, I have seen some people like arguing against just dampering the excitement of the new consoles. Like, man, video games aren't exciting anymore. This generation of consoles isn't exciting. The PS4 and Xbox One didn't do, to me personally, didn't do these crazy things that made it exciting. I feel like these consoles are at least trying. The PS5 is trying to do a couple of new things that are interesting. There are some cool games at launch, just a few, but over time there's going to be more. That is very much how it's been. So I don't know what changed where now all of a sudden video games suck for some people. The only thing I'll say to people who like, you know, oh, the new generation of consoles like isn't that exciting, huh? Well, I know personally 2 kids that have been out of their mind excited for this freaking piece of plastic. And that's how it should be. You know, is it just exciting for people who don't pay close, obsessive attention to gaming news like maybe we do? Maybe the fun is sucked out of it for us because we're reading video game news all day. I don't know. But what I'm trying to say with the 2 kids example is that there is still some magic there. That's what I want to leave you with, because I just like talking about things I love here. And I love video games. And I love paying too much money for retail plastic machines. But I want to know what you guys are thinking. I want to hear whatever side of it you are, where you're from, whether or not you were able to get your hands on one, either for financial reasons, very realistic, or for scalpers, or just not being able to find one online, or if you have one. I just want to know what your experience has been. If you are using the console, I want to know if, you know, do you have the same negatives as me, the little criticisms, but ultimately are you having fun? What games have you been playing on this thing? And if you don't have one, what is the first game you are going to play on it? Maybe you don't get it for a year from now. What are you going to play on it? Let's talk PlayStation 5 stuff in the comments. I definitely want to hear from you. I've been trying to get out more videos, so thank you for coming around and watching them. I've been having a ton of fun making them. So if you like what I'm trying to do and just have fun liking stuff, clicking the like button does help me. Thank you. But thanks for being here, guys. I'm Jake Baldino. You can subscribe because